It's space weather! The sun in 193 angstroms shows a giant canyon-like Earth-facing coronal hole. We've got an electron deficit. We've got an uptick in the solar wind speed and a downtick in the solar wind density, as predicted. Gonna talk about Sagittarius A star and other topics. First, let's look at windy.com's app, because right now in the North Atlantic, off the coast of Nova Scotia, we got 71 mile per hour winds in a massive low pressure convergence zone. Check it out. Hurricane force winds in the Atlantic, creating massively windy conditions all around this area. There's another very strong low off the coast of California. It's looking pretty anomalous. And by the way, everybody's earthquake risk continues. If you are in a warning zone, have an earthquake plan. Let's look at another map here just for fun. Let's see. How about pressure? What do you say? We got snow falling all across the U.S. There's your AccuWeather U.S. Doppler radar animation. Actually, there it is. Not even December yet, and it's snowing across half the U.S. Probably have about 27 states covered in snow now. It's not you, it's not CO2, it's the sun. Go back to the SDO images. Big plasma filament in the southeast. Is it gonna eject? We're not sure. It's still there. It's towering. Let's look at 171 angstroms. I see sunspot 2728. Remnants of sunspot 2728. The main story is that coronal hole. Let's look at the magnetic lines. You can see dense fields on the South Pole and utterly diffuse fields on the North Pole. Check it out. That coronal hole is definitely connected to the North Pole coronal hole, and that's why we're getting such high phi angles. Let's look at spaceweathernews.com and look at the data. There's been some anomalies on the X-ray flux, possibly because it's dropping down off of the bottom of the scale. It looks like it could be missing data, or it could be data that's so low that it's below 10 to the negative ninth. Tough to say. We have looked at some other instruments. Nothing too obvious there. Got some phi angle shifts. As predicted, the solar wind density has dropped down a bit, and the wind speed has gone up a little bit. Exactly what you would expect from a weak incoming coronal hole wind stream. Magnetometer is still looking very steep. Keep an eye on that one. KP index has dropped from 2 back down to 0 in the past 12 hours. So cosmic ray flux alert, human health risk, and so forth. Now, here's the signature electron flux dip that we often get during a coronal hole wind stream. Protons are stealing the ionosphere's electrons, and there you have it. Charging hazards are almost entirely gone, and the F2 ionosphere layer is looking like it's lacking electrons. Pretty discharged. Let's get to some other stuff. How about Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard? Let's look at the X-ray imager. Did we have a dip in the X-rays? I believe we had a dip in the X-rays. See a little bit of flash toward the end of the video there. Nothing too obvious. Let's look at the LASCO C3, as I did see a coronal mass ejection heading up to the northwest. Let that play through as Mercury emerges. See a small CME out this way. Not Earth facing. And let's check out the earthquake situation over the past 8 hours. I know Greece got one in Antipoda of Fiji, as expected. Alright, 5.5 in Japan. Hope that wasn't too bad or too heavily downgraded. 4.4 in Papua New Guinea at depth, so that area remains on alert for a mid-level 4. 4.7 in the North Mariana Islands, also at depth. So it's a bit of a lull. Everybody stays on alert until that coronal hole disconnects. Now, let's look at the NASA GOES water vapor map. And there's a quick view of that water vapor map. Let that run through a few times so you get an idea of what's happening in the upper level winds and so forth. You see the jet stream is still doing this sort of a number. Got a massive pressure gradient out here in the North Atlantic. In this area where we show the 70-mile-per-hour winds. Got an interesting little bit of dry air dropping down here, which is going to cause a little bit of havoc as it smashes into moisture air. Snow continues to push down from Canada into New York, the entire Northeast getting hammered with snow. And it looks like the atmospheric river's breaking up out here as this massive amount of moisture here pushes its way to the Northeast. And let's take a close-up look at the water vapor situation here. As these convergences occur, you can see many signs of electromagnetic fields in the atmosphere, especially in these areas. Check it out. Your Hall currents are going like this. Parallel lines coming off of those magnetic fields. Standard issue. Electric sky. And while these are more evident in low pressure zones, while they're more powerful in low pressure zones, they're really evident in high pressure zones where there's not too much water vapor to cover up the signature. Check it out. A violent activity happened right here too. It's not CO2. It's the sun and the magnetosphere. Because as the magnetosphere weakens, the ionosphere gets closer to your head. Take a look at solar ham. Check out the magnetic fields associated with former sunspot 2728 real quick. Nothing too special happening there. Let's look at the planet locations, as there is an alignment that some people are worried about. but not us. You've got this Earth, Mercury, Sun, Jupiter line going on. And if you get up before sunrise, go look to the southeast if you're in the northern hemisphere, or I'll just say the east, because there's going to be an incredible Venus out. If your skies are clear, go have a look. It's the third brightest object in space. And let's just take a moment to head to another random astronomy fact. Another great radio source located in our very own Milky Way galaxy. What are we talking about? We're talking about, by the way, this is pronounced Sagittarius A star. And it's SGR space A asterisk is the proper way to write the nomenclature. The galactic core of the Milky Way galaxy, a massive radio source. We can't see it in optical wavelengths because it's hidden by gas and dust, and of course magnetic fields. We'll leave links to the articles. Let's take a look at the transient analysis as we measure Sagittarius A star's activity regularly. What's interesting here is that over the past few days, it's actually been at a very low level of activity. And most of these very hungry supergiant radio sources drop down to a low level before they see a sudden spike in their activity. Does it have implications on us? Probably. Are they measurable? Not really. It's a cosmological event. There's no reason to freak out about it. Just like the cooling of the planet is a cosmological event, and just like the cooling of the Earth is caused by magnetic fields, so is Sagittarius A star's consumption of local matter. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to videos if you have not done so. Please check out our featured channels by going to our main page. They are now listed as officially endorsed channels. Don't accept any wooden nickels? Have a disaster plan? And remember, on your way staring at the sun, don't drink. And if you drink, stare at the sun anyway.